bring something before the commission that is not on our agenda. Yes, ma'am. Come forward to the mic, please. Bring your bodyguard with you there. And if you would, state your name and address for us, please.
Yes, I'm Joanne Diem, 238 Turner Avenue here in Henderson.
Okay.
The reason we're here today is because of Katie Crooks at the Animal Control Officer. I know y'all don't have jurisdiction over them, but you do send them money. They're billed to you somehow. You do have to give them money. Miss Crooks has told Mr. Bullins that she is a police officer, and he took a dog down to be surrendered. A friend of his had brought him a dog. He took the dog down. She asked for his driver's license and his Social Security number. You can't ask for a Social Security number. She represented herself as a police officer, which she is not. I had dealings with Miss Crooks about 2.5 years ago. A pit bull came in under my fence, attacked my dog. I got a ticket. The pit bull owners did not. She said, let me explain the whole thing. My husband had got injured, along with our dog. My dog's head was almost torn off. My husband was injured. We made numerous calls to try to verify the pit bull had its rabies shots. We could not get any answers. So I called the county judge's executive, Mr. McCormick, which is deceased now, and I made several other phone calls trying to get this information. Miss Crooks came by my house and told me, "You want the law? I'll give you the law. You're getting a ticket." Okay, so I went in and got my driver's license like she said. She wrote me out a ticket, and on the ticket it says that the other dog was up to date on his shots, which was a lie. She had verified twice with the clinic in Union County that that dog's shots were expired. And she kept telling me his shots had been verified. She wouldn't say verified as expired, verified as what. But she wrote on my ticket that that dog was up to date on his shots, knowing full and well they were expired. The place in Union County Union Town told me that she had called and they had told her twice that the dog's rabies shots were expired. She did not get a hold of the health department. She did nothing she was supposed to do, but yet she is still an employee there. The other lady, the Bridget Gilmore Crooks, that is her boss. They are married. That's fine. I don't mind that. But my other problem is we met with part of the animal control people the other night, their council or whatever they want to call themselves. What is it?
The board.
Their board. We met with 2 of those ladies the other night. They said that Katie cannot be fired. If a policeman writes a ticket, he falsifies that ticket, what happens to him? He's fired. If you go out and represent yourself as a police officer and you're not a police officer, what do they do to you? They arrest you and put you in jail. That's what they do to me. Miss Crooks is doing the same thing and getting away with it. I don't think it's right, but also I would like to know about the nepotism. The president of the council, or whatever, I can't remember the name. Are you a cousin? Is she a cousin to one of the ladies? Is this total nepotism? Is that why we can't get this board to do anything? You know, what is our problem, and what step do I need to take to get something done to this lady who does not represent Henderson in the right way at all? We do need animal control. We do need the Humane Society, but we don't need people that do not represent the legal way to do things. Thank you very much for your time.
We have some representatives here from the Humane Society and Animal Control. I'm going to ask them to come up front and they can make a statement. since we have had a new executive director there, we have had less complaints, I'd say, in the last 6 or 8 months than we had in the previous time, by far less than what we had in the previous time. So I think Angela is doing a good job down there, but we'll see what the situation is. Angela, give your name and full name and your position, please.
I'm Angela Hagedorn. I'm the Executive Director for the Humane Society in Henderson County. I am the Director over Shelter Services, and I'm Director over Animal Control Services. So I am Katie Crooks's direct supervisor. I was absent on July the 14th. I was ill, and I have a doctor's note that noted that I could not be at the shelter. So I have 2 separate investigations that I conducted in regards to this matter. And if you don't mind, I would like to read those. Executive Director report on investigation regarding the Radar Mullins incident. Upon review of the video surveillance, witness statements, and policies, the following is noted. Mr. Mullins was informed that a valid driver's license was needed to surrender the dog. Mr. Mullins did not inform any staff that he was unwilling to provide the valid driver's license or complete paperwork. Staff parvo tested and gave dog intake shots before paperwork was complete. Paperwork does not state that there is a charge for incomplete paperwork or change of mind. Landlord was not contacted before the police dispatch was called. Findings. Although Radar Mullins did not follow policy that was clearly stated by staff and posted in the lobby and clearly noted on the intake paperwork, staff also did not follow policy by processing the dog before paperwork was complete. The policy notes that the paperwork and ID verification is to be completed before animal is given intake shots. Policy does not include a charge will be assessed for incomplete intake paperwork or for change of mind. Policy also does not give guidelines for involving law enforcement in humane society matters. Recommendations. Executive Director should update intake policies to include charge for incomplete intake paperwork or change of mind. Executive Director should write a policy concerning guidelines for involving law enforcement in the Humane Society matters. Policy should be presented to the Board of Directors for their review and approval. Once approved, Executive Director should in-service staff. Intake forms should be updated to include that charges will be assessed for such issues. Notice posted in the lobby should be updated to include that charges will be assessed for such issues as well. All staff need to be in-serviced on customer service, following all portions of policy and procedure, and the updates to the policies. The in-service should also include staff referencing such charges before intake paperwork and processing begins. The Board of Directors should review findings and make recommendations to the Executive Director as to if any disciplinary action should be taken with the staff members directly involved. Executive Director should execute such directions with staff in accordance with the Board of Directors' recommendations. I have updated I conducted it in service on the 17th with the staff, which they all signed, and I explained the customer service, following policy and procedure, and involving law enforcement. I have updated the form that goes outside of the intake window to show that the Humane Society reserves the right to assess a charge to cover the cost of the intake shots. I have updated the intake facility policy to include an addendum that notes that we have reserved the right to assess the fee. I updated the general policies to note that we could assess the fee. And I also created a law enforcement policy about involving law enforcement, and I will read that policy. Law enforcement involvement at the Humane Society of Henderson County is for emergency situations only. Law enforcement can only be called with approval of the Executive Director or executive member of the Board of Directors. The only exception to this will be in events of extreme emergency, such as serious verbal and physical threats to the safety of the animals, staff, volunteers, or visitors. General policy prohibits law enforcement involvement in matters that are not extreme emergency because it does not promote good business practice. The Humane Society of Henderson County provides a valuable service to the community by protecting the health and well-being of domestic companion animals in Henderson County. The organization cannot approve employees calling the police for organizational problems without administration being aware of the issue and determining whether police involvement is actually required. The only exception to this is in cases of extreme emergency. Employees who violate this policy will be subject to disciplinary action up to and including termination. Upon a meeting that the president of the board, Tanya Frederick, and secretary of the board, Debbie Edwards, had with Mr. Mullins and Ms. Diem, that I had conduct a subsequent investigation. And this is my timeline, the timeline statement for Katie Crook's investigation as completed by Angela Hagedorn, Executive Director for the Humane Society of Henderson County. On Friday, 2017, I was absent from work due to medical reasons when an incident with Mr. Mullins occurred. I was informed by the board per phone conversation on 7/16/2017 that the incident had occurred. It was requested that I investigate the incident to ensure that staff followed policy and procedure. The board noted that they were informed by the staff that the incident had occurred and through a social media post. Tanya Frederick, President, and Debbie Edwards, Secretary, were in contact with Mr. Mullins and would meet with him to address his concerns. I initiated an investigation on the morning of 7/17/2017. I gathered written statements from 3 staff members that were involved, collected supporting documentation, made copies of policies, and reviewed surveillance video of the incident. The Executive Director in-service and retrained staff concerning the intake procedures and law enforcement involvement before the end of the workday on 7/17/2017. During the board meeting on that evening, it was noted that the incident had occurred and was under review by the Executive Director. The review of the incident was completed on the afternoon of 7/18/2017, and the investigation report was completed on the evening of 7/18/2017. The report was forwarded to the Executive Committee on the board, to the Executive Committee of the board on 7/19/2017, and I just read you that report that I forwarded to them. A copy of the report and policies were given to Tanya Frederick, President of the Board, and Debbie Edwards, Secretary of the Board, at their meeting with Mr. Mullins. On the evening of 7/19/2017, Tanya Frederick contacted me by phone and stated that Mr. Mullins had lodged a complaint specifically against Katie Crooks, Chief Animal Control Officer, regarding the incident that occurred on 7/14/2017. Another person, Joanne Diem, had accompanied Mr. Mullins to the meeting and lodged a complaint against Kay Crooks from the incident that had occurred approximately 2 years ago. I requested statements from Debbie Edwards and Tanya Frederick regarding the meeting that they had with Mr. Mullins and Ms. Diem. On the morning of 7/20/2017, Chief Animal Control Officer Katie Crooks was placed on desk duty and no public contact until further notice. Her on-call duties were given to the other animal control officer. I began an investigation on Kay Crooks in regards to conduct issues stemming from complaints lodged by Mr. Mullins and Ms. Diem. Upon subsequent review of the statements and surveillance video, and it's a non-audio surveillance, Mr. Mullins' incident, it is noted that all 3 staff members involved had interaction with Mr. Mullins. Body language and nonverbal cues were observed from the 3 staff members and do not appear inappropriate or aggressive. Kay Crooks has the most interaction with Mr. Mullins. However, she is with one of the other 2 staff members involved, with the exception of less than 1 minute time span when another animal control officer stepped away to get a telephone. Her body language is noted to be more pronounced, such as hand movements when she is speaking, hands on her hips, and crossed arms. Kay Crooks notes in her statement that she is in the process of calling dispatch to disregard, but the officer was already approaching the facility. Officer Abby Black was the first officer to respond. Sergeant Brashears also responded, but was only an observer of the situation. The officers noted that they cannot submit a formal statement. Upon review of Kay Crooks' personnel file, I did not note any formal complaints in regards to her conduct with the public. I also did not note any documented reprimands or disciplinary actions in regards to conduct or contact with public. I did note that Kay Crooks received a mandatory all-staff customer service in-service on 3/6/2017, which was conducted by me. Furthermore, I did not note documentation at the time of the incident concerning the complaint that was lodged by Ms. Diem from an incident approximately 2 years ago. Ms. Diem did forward a video for review by myself and the board. Upon review of the video, it is noted that the entire incident was not videoed, so the interaction between Diem and Crooks is limited. The portion of the video that shows interaction notes that Kay Crooks was blunt and had a stern tone when giving this citation to Diem. It is also noted that she makes comments that are inaudible from the truck while M. Burks and Diem are conversing about the situation. It is noted that Diem responds back to Kay Crooks in a harsh tone. Kay Crooks notes that the police were called after M. Burks was called to provide assistance to handle the situation. Kay Crooks notes that was standard practice at any time further assistance was needed for an animal control call. Upon further review of the personnel file, Kay Crooks completed Module A of the National Animal Control NACHO training on January of 2017. This NACHO Module A curriculum includes professional and ethical officer, and I list the other trainings, but that one that I wanted to note was the professional and ethical officer. And her overall mastery score for the training was a 93.7% out of a possible 100%. It was after this training that she was promoted to Chief Animal Control Officer. She also attended the Color of Law training that was conducted by FBI Special Agent Mike Brown as part of the Kentucky Division of Corrections training at the Henderson County Detention Center on 3/30/2017. Kay Crooks also attended the annual Kentucky Animal Control Training Conference in March of 2016. It includes workshops on community relationships and communications with the public. Kay Crooks also received in-service trainings involving new and updated policies. She was retrained on intake policies, customer service, and law enforcement involvement on 7/17/2017. My findings. Kay Crooks has received no formal complaints in regards to interaction with the public. No inappropriate or aggressive interaction with Mr. Mullins is observed through surveillance video. Kay Crooks is blunt and speaks sterling to Ms. Diem. However, initial interaction and beginning of the incident was not recorded or made available for review. Kay Crooks has received in-facility, local, state, and national training within the last 18 months that included community contact and interaction with customer service. Recommendations. The Executive Director and Board of Directors will develop a code of conduct for animal control officers. The Executive Directors will provide informal training on customer service that includes body language, gestures, and nonverbal cues. The Executive Director will seek formal training in regard to public interaction and community conduct for the animal control officers and HSHC staff. Kay Crooks will return to Chief Animal Control duties once recommendations have been reviewed and approved. It is also noted that Angela Hagedorn, Executive Director, holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Psychology, Sociology with an emphasis in criminal justice. She has extensive experience with observational techniques in regards to nonverbal cues, gestures, body language, body positioning, antecedent behavior, and precursor cues. So that gives you reference as to whenever I observed the different videos that I watched. So those are, and I have updated, this part of my investigation was only completed today, so I have not had an opportunity to meet with the board as far as to develop the code of conduct and to contact the Sheriff's Department or the City Police Department to see what types of trainings that I can send the animal control officers to.
Angela, do you feel like that as a result of your investigation and your discussions with the animal control officer and with the other steps that you have taken, that incidents like the incident with Mr. Mullins will not happen in the future?
Yes, I feel confident. And I also will want to reassure you that if incidents of this nature occur again, after they have been trained, they will be handled swiftly and appropriately.
Thank you. And Ms. Diem, your incident occurred more than 2 years ago, and I think we've had probably 3 or 4 animal control.
Katie's still there.
Yes, I'm talking the executive directors since then, and we have a brand new board, a brand new executive director, and I ask that you give this group another chance to move forward and try to do the right thing with animal control. As I mentioned to you, we have very, very few complaints in the last 6 months to a year.
I can tell you 185 people responded within 2 hours of a Facebook post complaining about animal control and the way Katie has treated other people. So, I mean, it's just not...
I cannot speak to past issues. I can only speak to from the time that I've been in November, and since I've been since November, I have ensured that she has gone to national animal control training. I have ensured that she's gone to local training, and I have conducted in-house in-services with my staff to ensure that we are addressing any issues, and as I observe issues, then I promptly and readily get those addressed.
They locked his car in, so he could not do that.
It was whenever I have a timeline of the surveillance, And there were 2 animal control officers that were behind his vehicle. They were behind his vehicle for approximately a minute, and they were standing between 4 to 6 feet away. They were taking down his license plate, because that's what you have to do when you call into dispatch. And then they moved in different ways. There was no vehicle blocking a person blocking his vehicle in, and it was simply them gathering information to turn into dispatch.
Okay.
May I ask you one question? If they falsify a report again, will they be fired if they falsify?
Yes, you cannot falsify documentation. As far as I do have copies of that, of what you are referring to, and that incident, that gentleman did receive, that dog did receive citations.
Did after?
No, it received it on the same day. But
On the same day after
I will.
I found out about the shots.
Yeah.
Okay, but I have
But
the
I got
documentation. Yes,
two
sir.
or three questions.
Yes, sir.
You said something about after this investigation, now you're starting to charge for the shots.
No, we're not charging. That's only if you change your mind. Like, once we intake the animal and it becomes our responsibility, then we assume cost for that. But if you come in, because we have permission to do intake shots for our responsibility. We can't provide shots for people to come in and get shots and then leave, because that's what we have to try to prevent, where someone knows that they need to come in and get their shots updated, and then they come into us and they go, oh, well, that's okay, I'll change my mind, and then they leave.
Okay, how much do they cost?
The shots, the parvo, because this dog had a parvo test plus 2 shots, and the total was $18.
Okay, did any of your staff misrepresent themselves as a police officer? I didn't hear you mention any of that in the investigation.
No, they always address themselves as animal control officers.
So what she told her, that she was a police officer?
She may have said that she is a sworn-in peace officer.
Did you say police officer?
She told me she was a police officer and that she was officer so-and-so of Humane Society.
It may have just been a misheard, because she does state that she is a peace officer, and she states her title, and her title is on her shirt.
Not police officer.
Not peace
Okay.
officer. A peace officer.
One more question before that. Do y'all have, when you
Okay,
fill that
I'm
paperwork
addressing
out,
Mr. Pruitt.
do you ask for Social Security numbers?
Excuse me?
Do you have to give you guys?
No,
Social
never.
Security
We have in the history that I have worked there, we have never asked for a Social Security number, nor is it on any of our intake paperwork or any of our paperwork. And I have copies of the paperwork.
Angel, I need clarification on something.
Yes.
I'm trying to go way back here. So if someone sees a stray dog
Yes.
that needs help, that's hurt or something, and they take it down to the Humane Society,
Yes.
you're telling me that there is no charge for that to that person?
No, there's no charge. The only time that there is a charge is if they come in and then they misrepresent themselves on the paperwork, like they give us inaccurate information, or we process the dog and they say, oh, that's okay, I changed my mind, I want to bring the dog back.
You do want to see their driver's license,
Yes,
but other than that, there's no charge.
No, there is no charge. The only time that there is a charge is if they have incomplete paperwork, or they change their mind. They want to take the dog, because that puts us in a position, because we are not a vet's office. When we process the dog, we're processing it for our purposes, to make sure that we keep the animals in the shelter healthy.
One thing I would just like, the guy that just got his 30-year pen,
Yes, sir.
what the mayor said about him,
Yes, sir.
is true, because when you start dealing with codes and property, people can get really upset.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if you know John, but he has the right attitude for the job.
Yes,
And
sir.
certain people in certain jobs just don't have the right attitude to deal with people that are getting a little upset, and it's maybe not be their fault, but this is not the job for you. It may be that you need a different type job, because sometimes when you deal with animals, it can get kind of hot. And you have to have the personality. And I would ask for you to, just like you said, whatever training y'all going to do, is to let her know that don't take anything personal about what's going on. Just have the right personality to deal with the people.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Angela, Mr. Mullins wants to say
Yes.
something, so we're going to let him come up just for a minute. And we need to, we're going to get on by this just fairly
Okay,
quickly.
I won't take but a minute. and
Okay.
we'll get out of here. For y'all don't know me, I'm Radar Mullins. I'm the one that brought all this about, and the reason for it is they had a dog left into an apartment building, and the owner of the duplex called the Humane Society and asked him if they could come and get the dog. They said it's going to be a while before we can do it. Said that we've got everybody tied up and we didn't know how long it's going to be. Anyway, to cut it all short, they detained me in my vehicle outside the building. There was two of them standing behind my car. I was sitting in my vehicle, and the vehicle was running because it was hot that day. And they stood behind my vehicle, and they said if I was to try to leave or something, that they could have me arrested. And about that time, the city police officer showed up. The city police officer asked both of us questions, and she said, look, Mr. Mullins, she said, we don't have anything to detain you on, so you can go ahead and leave if you want. So at that time, I asked her, I said, I want to ask you one thing. I said, don't take it the wrong way. I'm not trying to be smart or anything. I said, can I get the name of all three of them? Because just in case something else like this was to come about. And the police officer said no, that she would not give it to me. And then I turned around, I started to walk off, and she said, but Mr. Mullins, she said, if you would ask those three real politely, and I mean politely, and they would probably let you write it, give their names and let you write it down and all. And I just thought it was ridiculous because I was detained like that
Okay.
for bringing a dog.
Yeah. Angela is going to look at that. She's going to work with her staff, and we will try to do better in the future. She will try, and the Humane Society and Animal Control will try to do better in the future. If she has assured us that if we continue to have problems with individuals, that she will take care of that. So.
Okay, let me reframe on one other thing.
Okay.
Whenever she said that they wasn't going to charge a fee and all, whenever I first brought the dog there, they said, well, we have to do a parvo shot and we have to do a rabies shot. And I said, okay. I said, look, it's not my dog. And the guy is going to come back that called him to begin with to come and get the dog. And he was going to come down and take care of all that. Well, I filled out the paperwork, and then I was asked for Social Security number and my driver's license because I didn't fill it out on that paper. And everybody there, nobody was in uniform. Everybody kind of looked wild, and I wasn't about to give them my Social Security number.
Okay. I understand.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. We appreciate
One
it.
more comment. If y'all want to see the video, it's on my YouTube channel, Joanne Diem. And also on the ticket I have, it shows right there on my ticket that she says the other dog was up to date on his shots, knowing he wasn't.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Okay. We have a consent agenda with one set of minutes.
The consent agenda is the minutes of the July 11th, 2017 regular meeting and Resolution 36